All right. Well, in the US, we have approximately 15 million vacant homes, according to Fred economic data. And many people think, especially folks I've heard, I'm sure you have on YouTube, that these 15 million vacant homes are being hoarded by the rich. And if only they were forced to give up these 15 million vacant homes, real estate nirvana would rain down upon us and we'd be able to all afford a house very easily. Well, that's what we're looking at today on the Housing Nerve. We're looking at vacant properties and really diving into what's behind the easy to look at graphs and look at the shocking reality of vacant properties. So thank you for joining me today. My name is Jason Ferrier. I am the Housing Nerd. I've been a realtor and investor in Central Ohio for the last 7.5, almost 8 years now. And yeah, I really appreciate you joining us. If you've landed on the Housing Nerd and you're looking for someone to tell you you should buy a home, like now is the best time to buy real estate, that you should marry the house and date the rate, you came to the wrong channel. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm also not going to tell you that the books are cooked and that you should not buy a property. I don't know your situation. I don't know your goals. I'm not you. I'm here to give you the data behind the data so you can actually make the right decision. It doesn't matter to me if you buy a home or not. It doesn't matter to me if you sell your home, and it doesn't matter to me if you invest in real estate. I just want to give you the data so you can make that decision for yourself, because that's really all you can control. So thanks for joining me. Got 9 people on. Hit the like button. Don't be a freeloader. All right, so let's jump into this first thing. I'm going to show you an article from Redfin, and this is about vacation homes. Actually, let's do this. Let me go back to this chart. So let's go back to this. What do I got here? They're on so early. I don't know what's going on here. I got an audio problem. All right. Hopefully you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I had to switch to my MacBook speaker or microphone. Had a problem with the microphone. Okay, so let me go to the Fred economic data. All right, so this is the graph of how many vacant homes we have in the U.S. And you can tell right now it shows 15,571 vacant housing units. Now, it's important to remember that this is units, not necessarily houses. So the first thing you have to realize is when someone says we have 15 million vacant homes, not exactly correct. This is 15 million vacant units. So if you have like a building that's, let's say, an apartment building that's decrepit and nasty, and it's got 50 units in the building, well, that's counted as 50 vacant units, not one. So it's not all single family houses, and that changes the dynamics greatly, right? Because a lot of people have this idea that all these vacant homes, these 15 million properties, are like they're all houses, but that's not true. So a lot of them are just units in buildings. Like if I have a 4-unit building and 1 unit's empty, that's a unit, right? So it's important to remember that. All right. So let's go back to like 2000 let's go back to Q2 of 2000. We had 13 million vacant units in the US. Then we went through a recession, right? The dot-com bubble, right? Or is that 9/11? Probably the 9/11 recession. And then it climbed, right? And look at this. We reached a peak of 19 million vacant units in the US at one point. That slowly dwindled, went down and up by quarter. This is a quarterly look. Then it dropped big time. Look at this. Down to 13,876,000, even at the height of the craziness that we saw, right? Even at the height of the craziness, we still had 13 million vacant properties, almost 14 million. Not properties, sorry, units. I keep saying properties, but it's units. And then it went up to 15 million. It's kind of just held steady. It has gone up slightly, right? It has gone up slightly recently, maybe because there's a bunch of multifamily construction that was completed recently. So that counts into the vacancies of units. By the way, somebody just give me a thumbs up or not thumbs up, but a comment. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Because again, my microphone kind of took a dive earlier. Oh, I guess you can't because Sid Luscious just said something. And by the way, I'll just say hi to a couple. Michael Wyman, you're on so early. Yeah. Sid Luscious. Still cost and insurance have risen. That's true. I'm good. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Sid. That sounds like a wrestling name, Sid Luscious. I don't know why. It just does. Sounds like a WWE name or something. Maybe you're a wrestler. Yeah, so you've got a bunch of vacant units, right? I think that's just the reality of the situation. But let's look at this. This is an article from Redfin that I thought was pretty interesting. And this is about vacation homes. So there's this myth out there, I think, and I'm trying to provide a look on both sides of the equation. There's this myth out there that all these vacant homes are sitting like idle. They're move-in ready. They're amazing homes. They're affordable homes. And if people would just give them up, like the evil boomers, the evil investors, the evil rich people, if they would give those up, then everybody would be able to afford a home. But a lot of these homes, some of them are just vacation homes. Like, you'll see that here in a minute. That's not necessarily an affordable home, right? So I think if you peel back the onion of vacant units, you start to discover that not all of them would really help the housing market. So this is an article from Redfin. I'm not going to read the whole article, just a few highlights. It says Americans are purchasing 1/3 as many vacation homes as they were during the pandemic. So in this article, they actually highlight the trend of vacation home buying. It's kind of interesting. High prices and mortgage rates, along with the return of in-office work, have made the prospect of owning a second home less appealing than it once was. U.S. home buyers took out 86,604 mortgages for second homes in 2024, the lowest level in records dating back to 2018 and down 5% from a year earlier. So you can see here's the demand for, let me move into this chart. Here's the demand for second homes, and it fell to a 6-year low. So back in 2018, these were mortgage originations for second homes. Obviously doesn't count cash purchases, but 175,000 back in 2018. Then in 2021, no surprise, rates were super low. People were on this kick of work from home, right? I can live anywhere, so I'm going to go ahead and buy my home in wherever, in Florida or maybe the mountains, maybe, Boise, Austin, those kind of hip, trendy areas. And it peaks at 258,000 mortgages originated for second homes. Then it dropped substantially to 150,000 to 90,000, now to 86,000. I mean, if you look back, it's nowhere near where it was even before the pandemic. So easy to see that mortgages for second homes are dwindling. So if you're hoping for more, I guess, vacant homes to hit the market, maybe this could be a sign that we may see that. But again, you got to be careful what you wish for, right? You just have to be. Let me see if there's anything else here I want to highlight. All right, so they give a few reasons, several reasons why mortgages for second homes are falling faster. Second homes are more expensive. The median value, I thought this was really interesting. The median value for second homes nationwide was $495,000 in 2024, compared to $385,000 for primary homes. Plus, loan fees for second homes increased in 2022, raising the total cost of buying one. Yeah, that's true. If you're going to buy a second property, whether it be a rental or a vacation home, it's more expensive. Now, if you're buying a property that's going to cash flow, it's not near as tough. because in some situations, it's a lot easier, honestly, to buy a cash flowing property versus a vacation home, or even a second, or even your primary home. You can go out and get a loan that's not a traditional bank loan pretty easily for a rental property that's going to cash flow. The only trick is that's not a vacation home, because you're not going to vacation there if you have it rented and cash flowing. And maybe, I mean, it could be an Airbnb, but to me, if you're buying an Airbnb, you should be buying one that's going to be filled all the time and helps the community, not a vacation home that you're hoping to rent for $700 a night, and you rent it for 4 months a year or 3 months out of the whole year, and most of the time it's vacant. That's not a great strategy to me, but some people like that strategy. Vacation homes aren't a necessity. Inflation drove up the price of nearly everything in 2024, prompting many Americans to cut back on unnecessary expenses. When housing costs skyrocket and the market cools, people back off second homes faster. You would think maybe they're going to sell those vacation homes, right? It could be. The rental market has cooled. Purchasing a second home to rent it out is less appealing than it used to be, because asking rents are no longer growing. They're growing slightly, but not growing that much, certainly not for vacation homes. And the short-term rental market has cooled from its peak. That's true. The short-term rental market has cooled. People have woken up to the reality that, it's not all it's cracked up to be an Airbnb owner. You should check out the Airbnb video on my channel, though, because I show you how I manage my Airbnb, and it works well, and it helps the community. In office work, many workers have less time to spend on a vacation home than they did during the pandemic, because employers have asked workers to return to the office. Yeah, so this whole idea of hey, I can work from anywhere, and I work for who knows, right? Here in Columbus, it'd be like Cardinal Health, right? I know some people that work for Cardinal Health in Columbus, Ohio. It's a big employer, and they have kind of asked people to return to the office, but kind of not. They've kind of done it in a meek, I would say, they just haven't done it in a great way, I'll say. And because of that, asking people to return to the office, probably a lot of people who thought they could live on the beach or in the mountains, or maybe they thought they could live up in Lake Erie, right near, up north in Ohio. Well, they got to move back to Columbus, right? So that happens, and then their vacation home is no good, or they have to sell it. So maybe a lot of people are hopeful for that. It says most people aren't buying vacation homes at all because mortgage rates and insurance costs, somebody just commented on that, Sid Luscious, good job, especially for waterfront homes and condos, have skyrocketed. That's true. Plus, many people know they're unlikely to earn much revenue from listing on Airbnb now that the occupancy rates are down, said Lindsay Garcia, Redfin premier agent in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. While some wealthy cash buyers are still buying second homes, they are much more likely to make lowball offer or request concessions than they used to be. So this is a great example, because there are homes near a lake where I live. I don't live on a lake, but there's a lake near me called Buckeye Lake. It's literally in the middle of a cornfield. Like, if you are driving to Buckeye Lake, you would never know the place exists. It's just a cornfield as far as you can see. And all of a sudden there's a sign that says Buckeye Lake, and you're like, what's that? And you pull off and you go into this community. There are homes on this lake that are selling for their vacation homes. Some people live there all year round, but it's like, Alaska in the winter, right? So it's not a destination. But during the summer, it's kind of like the cool spot to be, I guess. And there are people there that are buying $1 million vacation homes. They are. A lot of them with cash. And I know several realtors who dominate that market, and they are busier than they have been in years, they say. And I can see it in the numbers. They are selling more vacation homes. They're getting buyers to buy more vacation homes. And again, we're talking $1.5 million homes, homes that would be like $500,000, maybe $600,000 if they weren't on the lake. But on the lake, they're $1.5 million in a flood zone, right? But that's kind of like what I'm seeing locally. And so I think there are a lot of cash purchases. I do think Airbnb is becoming tougher to pull cash ROI out of. I think it is for most people, unfortunately, because they want that destination Airbnb that does not work most of the time. It just doesn't. It says demand for vacation homes is falling fastest in Florida. In Miami, second home mortgage originations topped 32% year over year in 2024, more than any other major U.S. metro. I'm sorry, dropped 32%. It's followed by 4 other Florida metros: Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Tampa. Demand for second homes is falling fastest in Florida because it's less appealing for out-of-towners to own homes than it once was. Housing costs in the Sunshine State are soaring, partly due to increase in insurance, HOA, property tax costs. Additionally, increasing frequency and intensity of natural disasters is turning some people off from the state, and both of those things together are making some would-be second home buyers shy away from Florida because they're nervous home values will fall. I can understand that, especially the natural disasters. I give props to anybody who owns property in Florida, like a vacation home, and they've owned it for a while through all these hurricanes, and they're okay with the probability or the chance of like complete destruction of your investment. I mean, they must have good insurance, I assume, or just be so wealthy it doesn't matter, but I'd be a nervous wreck. Comment below. Tell me if you would own a vacation home, if you could afford it. Maybe you can now, maybe you can't, but if you could afford it, would you buy a vacation home in like a coastal area where there could be a hurricane or a wildfire like in California, right? I'd be so nervous about that. Anytime there's a tornado in Ohio, like a tornado warning or big, thunderstorms, big flooding, I always get nervous about my properties. Always. I mean, they're not vacation homes. Nobody's buying vacation homes in Columbus, Ohio. But I'm still nervous because I'm like, I can't see the house. I don't know what's going on with it, right? I don't know if it's taking in water. I don't know if the hail has damaged the roof. I have property managers. They do a good job, but still I'm nervous. So if it's a really nice condo in Florida, I would be super nervous. But I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. And I'll get to your comments here in a few minutes. Okay, so I'm going to look at this. This is vacation homes and the share of second home mortgages based on metro. Some of this is really interesting. Like I can't believe some of this data. Like here in Columbus, 0.8%. 0.8% of mortgage originations were for second homes. I guess that's not investment properties. That's second homes. So people are buying second homes in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, why? Like, maybe to visit, maybe they're buying for their college students or something. I don't know. I don't think those are investment homes. It's got to be higher than that for investment properties. Cleveland, Ohio, 0.6. Maybe because it's up north. Cincinnati, Ohio, 0.7. But some of these are pretty high, like Anaheim, 2.5. That makes sense, right? Because it's in California. Who else? Fort Lauderdale, 2.7. That kind of makes sense. Jacksonville, Florida, 2.4. Las Vegas, Nevada, 3.2. That obviously makes sense. People want to buy a second home in Vegas. Nassau County, New York. Who would have known? 3%. New Brunswick, New Jersey. People buying second homes in New Jersey. Is that the Jersey Shore? I don't know where New Brunswick is exactly. I don't know. New York, 1.7. Orlando, Florida. That makes sense. 3% are vacation homes or second homes, I guess. So anyway, the link's in my description below. You can check this out. So that's about vacation homes. That's an article from Redfin. All right, let me show you this now. Well, let's go back to this chart. We're going to go back to this. This is all about, again, this is the number of vacant units, right? So I just want to bring your attention to this to realize that there are still a lot of vacant properties. But the Redfin article talked about vacation homes. Now we're going to talk about the other vacant properties out there because what I really wanted to accomplish this morning was trying to give you data about, hey, there are vacant properties out there. I can tell you 100%. I'm going to show you some in a minute that I've actually looked at. But these vacant properties are not what a lot of people hope, wish, and want they would be. Meaning they're not just these houses sitting there ready to be moved into, and there's evil people keeping them from the market. You'll see in a minute why they are vacant. You're going to see that. Let me look at some comments. Let's see what y'all had to say, because you guys have great ideas. Navy nickname on man. My father's a retired sub guy, submarine, Patrick Henry. So I will, I'm definitely going to pass that on. That's funny. All right. Houses shouldn't be where people build wealth. I understand you feel like that, Laser. I mean, it is, though. It is where a lot of people build wealth. So, you know, there are a lot of other areas to build wealth, though. Like, you don't have to do that. You could, you know, I mean, well, I don't have to tell you guys. You guys probably know a lot more than that than I do. But shoot, Bitcoin or, you know, obviously investing in anything, you know, any type of asset, you can build wealth. Doesn't have to be that. I just want a roof over my head and to stop paying rent. Aha. Well, this is for you then, because I'm going to show you, Laser, in a couple minutes. I'm going to show you more about that because I understand that. BlackRock decided to buy thousands of homes, raising prices. They did. But again, Sid, just like Laser, I'm going to show you in a minute what you can do or what maybe folks aren't thinking of when it comes to vacant homes. Government worked from home 5 years. Government workers work from home for 5 years. Oh, shoot. There are people working from home for, I mean, I personally know people who work for the government and have worked from home for like 15 years. Yeah, like 15 years. And they're not stopping, by the way. They're still working from home. So this whole like return to the office thing for the government, I mean, I get there probably are people facing that, but there are people that aren't facing that. All right, let's keep going. More Laser stuff. We learned that going into the office was to mostly pump the value of real estate. You mean the commercial real estate? I assume that's what you mean. Just get a PPP loan, pay off house, then do 2 years in jail. Right. Yeah, you can't use a PPP loan for that. Well, they don't even have those anymore. Like, I don't think you can even apply for those. Yeah, a lot of people use them incorrectly. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's okay, Rick. You can catch up. I like the car. What is that? What kind of car is that? I don't know what that is. It looks like a Beetle. Is that a Volkswagen? No, it's a Mini Cooper. Is that a Mini Cooper? Hard for me to tell. My old man eyes. Florida condos getting closed down, structural problems or high HOA fees. Yep. I'm just looking through these comments. With the money I save by not buying in Florida, insurance, tax, and in maintenance, I can afford to do a 90-day short-term rental in the Orlando area cheaper and bank the difference. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, you know what? I've had people stay at my Airbnbs before who are just, they're like younger, like they're not staying for vacation. They're not staying to work in the area. They just stay at an Airbnb for like month, 2 months, 3 months at a time in different cities. And they work from home. So one of them was like one of them was a Bitcoin trader. And he just stayed in my apartment for 2 months, I think, just moving around Ohio. He would just stay in different spots in Ohio, different small towns. That's just what he did. And he didn't have a permanent address, you would say. I think he used a PO box or something. So that's awesome that you're doing that. Cool. Landlords on 2025 doing Section 8 get 2 years. Landlords on 2025 doing Section 8. I don't know what that means. Hey, what's up, Stuntfish? Happy Monday, Jason. If you live in Michigan, you buy a vacation home in Ohio so you have a nicer place to go. Really? I like Michigan. I do. There are a lot of areas in Michigan I like, but everybody, you know, has their own thing. Okay, so now I want to show you this. This is a vacant home. Again, this is for laser. And I think Sid even made a comment about this maybe. I know a lot of people have on my channel. Let me see if I can share this with you. Okay, so this is, let me make this a little, oh, no, I'll do that. All right, so this is a vacant home. This is a real vacant home, folks. When you think vacant properties, if only the rich would give them up, we would just be able to have, you know, tons of homes to buy. This is what you're looking at. This is a real vacant home that I recently helped somebody buy. And I found the seller, and I'm going to show you how I found the seller as well, how I found this vacant home. And you can do the exact same thing. You can actually start today doing this type of work. Now, this is one type of vacant home I found, but I found homes that are bigger. I found homes that don't need as much work. I found homes that are much, much worse. I found apartment buildings, duplexes. I have found really, really nice homes too this way that are vacant or somebody wants to sell off market. So I'm going to show you how to do that briefly, but this is a real vacant property. And I want you to realize that they're not all ready to be moved into. So when you think I want vacant homes, or I want foreclosures, or I wish foreclosures would hit the market, and when they do, real estate nirvana, you know, will rain down upon me. Well, this is what you may be dealing with, and you have to be prepared and be realistic. Be realistic about what you may find. So this property I found, and it needs everything, or it did need everything. I located this property, talked to the owner of the property. The owner wanted to sell it because the city was actually going to, it had a bunch of fines with it. It had a bunch of property code violations with it. So somebody needed, you know, the city wanted to basically bulldoze the thing. And it was no fault of the sellers, except the seller just, you know, they get older, and they need, they don't have the resources maybe, or the wherewithal to repair it. But at one point, this was a fantastic home. And after some time, you know, the tenant moves out, and it's falls into disrepair. So you can kind of see it here. It's all boarded up, right? Had to be boarded up. There's a concrete house, by the way. Haven't seen many of those. Stucco on the outside, but concrete block on the perimeter. Very interesting. Concrete block may have saved the home, actually, from being completely collapsed, because if it was stick built, may have rotted away. You never know. But yeah, I talked to the owner. The owner wanted to sell the property. I helped them sell it. I located a buyer, an investor who I knew in the area, who was willing to take on this project. This house probably has, when I calculated it, about $100,000 in work, $90,000 to $100,000 for me when I looked at the rehab budget. So I like duplexes. I like triplexes. I like 4-unit buildings, 2, 3, 4-unit buildings. That's my primary niche. I'm not a single family house person for investments normally. I thought about flipping this. I thought about keeping it. But at the end of the day, I have other projects going on. I got other focus or other areas I'm focusing, like I said, with smaller multifamily. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and find somebody to buy this from the owner and rehab it for the area. So an investor came in, bought the property. This is the inside of it. Right? I mean, built in, I think, 1940, 1950 or so. It's full. I mean, it's completely full with stuff. So it has to be all cleaned out, right? I mean, we're talking everything: roof, windows, foundation, not really foundation work, but, you know, electrical work, needs a heating system, needs everything. I mean, virtually everything: flooring, kitchen, bathroom, needs all that stuff.
We got bikes in here, got a weed eater, got a bed. What else we can find in here? Buckets, all kinds of things. Look at the bathroom. Now, nobody was living here. Remember, it's vacant. This is one of your vacant properties. You can see here, it's got a hole in the roof, right? There's a hole there, probably in the roof where it's leaking. But that thing needs gutted from top to bottom. Complete gut job. And this is a vacant home. Remember, when you hear people on YouTube who don't do this work, when you hear people on YouTube, they just look at spreadsheets or they drive through. Like, I mean, I love Melody Wright to death. I don't know her, but I love like her mortgage information and the way she looks at data, and her experience in the mortgage market is amazing. I love the way she does that. But what I wonder about, and I scratch my head, is like, she doesn't know what this work is like. She has no idea what it's like to actually walk through a vacant property, one of the 15 million vacant properties out there. It's trench warfare. It's like, hey, do you let the city tear this thing down? Or do you revive the property and make it an affordable rental or a house somebody can buy? Like, this house flipped would probably sell for 160, 150. An affordable house. Where are you going to find a $150,000 house completely renovated? Hard to, right? But these opportunities exist if you're willing to do the work. And so here, I'll so these opportunities exist for anybody willing to do the work. And I'm going to show you how to do that next. And I'd love to see your comments too. So let me just pause this. Let me go back actually to that. And then I'll go here. Oh, I got a super chat. I gotta put that up. Edwin, where's my super chat? Okay, Edwin, what's up? Hey, Edwin, man, that's really nice of you, dude. I think you gave me one last week. Was able to find a broker whose agent owner and I can tell the different level of competency. I have an MSF and was blown away how incompetent some agents are. I don't know what an MSF. I fired my own one, buying $550,000 at 27. Yo, awesome. And you have a master's degree too, right, Edwin, I believe? Well, thanks for that super chat, dude. That was really nice. So I guess the moral of the story is, think of what you're talking about is you were able to find an agent owner and somebody who can help you, right? Buy a house, I believe is what you're saying. Tell me if I'm right. But anyway, thank you. I really appreciate it. And good luck. Shoot. Yeah. Buy a $550,000 house at 27. Is that what you're saying? 27 years old? Well done. Nice. Let me look here. Tyler Novak, you got a question. When buying a foreclosure, how do you make sure there is no... What do I do with that? Hang on a second. Sorry. When buying a foreclosure, how do I make sure there is no lien on it? Aha. So you should run the title work on the property, not you personally, but go to a title company. There's a million of them out there, and ask them to run a title search on the property. You may have to pay for it. Sometimes you don't. Depends on, the title company. If you know a realtor, they may be able to help you too. If they have a great relationship with a title company, they can run a title search on it. But one thing you want to pay attention to is title insurance. And you want to buy title insurance I strongly suggest you look at title insurance when you buy the property. So the title company will insure the title on the property so that if a lien is found in the future, the title company, you bought insurance for that, and you'll be able to not have to worry about, something that may happen down the road with the title. Like, they found a lien on it. If you bought title insurance, hopefully that takes care of it. So look at title insurance when you buy the foreclosure and do title work and drive by the property. Do not buy a foreclosure sight unseen. you can't go through most foreclosures. Like you can't walk through them, but you can drive by them because I know of people that have bid on foreclosed properties and they end up with, they end up with an empty lot or a house that's burnt to the ground already because they never drove by the property. So drive by the property. That's really important. But great question. And then do your title work to make sure there's no lien on it. Great question. Yep. Sid is right. I should have just shut up and let Sid answer that question. Sid's correct. Yeah. A title company should be able to research that. Good morning, Dave. Dave Triple D. Good morning, Jason. Thank you for showing us the reality of what empty houses look like in Central Ohio. There's a lot of misinformation about the subject, and I'm glad you're showing the real examples. You're welcome. You're welcome. I didn't know how this would resonate today. I don't have near as many people on today as I usually do, or I have over the past week, probably because this is more like reality based, but not really doom based. But oh, don't worry, I'll get back to more doom this week too. But thanks, Dave. Thank you for that. That means a lot. Yes, it's a Mini Cooper. Sweet. I like those cars. It's like the Italian Job. Remember that movie? I think it was Marky Mark was in that. And they had some cool Mini Coopers in that movie. I like their all-wheel drive model. I think that looks, I keep thinking like maybe that's a car to own, but it's not great for real estate probably. I like something a little more unassuming for real estate. My market is selling at I think you commented on my video before. My market is selling at 6.3 times the average income. In 2006, it was 5.48. By 2012, it fell to 2.7. How is your market? I'll have to look at that. I don't know the ratio off the top of my head. I should probably, but I don't. Let me make a note of that. It's not as high as yours, probably. Like that ratio isn't as out of whack, because the median price here in the area is like 320. It's like 320 grand, so it's probably less than yours. I noticed a home that was in back taxes. Now the owner got a loan lien. I know this property well. In California, watching prices go steadily down. Good. I think the owner will get loans till it's underwater. Very, very possible. Very possible. My area also is close to that high. Yeah. Oh, to what they 6.3 times income. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, Dave's right here. Ohio median prices are lower, but taxes are higher. I imagine you were going to say. Yeah, property taxes in Ohio we're like 7th in the nation, I think, for property tax rates. We're up there. I think we're in the top 10. It's not good. Yeah, it's not good. Property taxes here are not fun. That date's coming, by the way. What is it? July, I think July 1st they're due, the second part. What should I do to buy it if I see a vacant house in my neighborhood for a long time that is not kept up? Glad you asked this. Honor. You ready? I'm going to show you what to do. Okay. So now, once the first part of this, well, let me back up. I'm getting so excited that you asked that question. If you want to find a house like this vacant house that I'm showing you on the screen, if you want to find a vacant house like this, and you want to actually contact the owner, I'll show you exactly how I do it. So once you find the house, then you need to find out the owner information. And that depends on where you live. So some states, you can actually go into public records. Like in Ohio, all I have to do is go on the county auditor's website and I can look up the address and find out where the owner lives, and the mailing address they have registered. Sometimes it's the vacant house. Sometimes it's not, right? With a vacation house or a second home or an investment property. Like if this was a rental that you're seeing on the screen right now, it was a rental, but if the owner doesn't live there, obviously he lives somewhere else. So they could be you know, down the street, or they could live out of state. They could even live out of the country. But you have to find that vacant owner information, whoever that is. So you have to locate that. Now, you can locate it by, again, you can, if you're in a non-disclosure state, there's only a few of them out there like Texas, you can't go on the public auditor's website to find that. But if you're in a disclosure state, like here in Ohio, you can go on the auditor site for free and download or look at the mailing address for the owner and get that info. You can also use something like this. So this I'm showing you on the screen is called PropStream, PROPSTREAM, PropStream. Now, this is a software or a website you have to subscribe to, like everything else, right? Not inexpensive. It's about $100 a month. It's not cheap, but this will give you owner information anywhere in the US, including Texas. So the people that think it's impossible to find that information in Texas are completely wrong. You can find it with PropStream, and there's other softwares out there like it. So for instance, this property in Columbus, 238 East Barthman Avenue, you can see this is a vacant home, and you can look down and it actually shows you the owner information. Then it shows you the owner address, 8887 Shrockton Street in Powell. So it's under an LLC, so it may be an investment property. I don't know. But the cool thing about a software like PropStream is you can actually find and search for vacant properties. So like here, for instance, I have vacant homes selected, and it's telling me that there's 4,308 single family vacant properties in Franklin County, which is Columbus, Ohio. So that's a way to find vacant homes or to find the owner. So the first thing you have to do is find vacant properties. And there's a variety of ways to do that. And then the second thing you have to do is find the owner information. And so if you, to find the vacant properties, you can use something like PropStream, like I'm using here on the screen. Or you can use Driving for Dollars. So that's what I do. I primarily use Driving for Dollars, and that is I drive. It's a really cheesy name, but it is what it is. So I just drive the streets of the areas I want to buy in, and I look for houses that look like they may be vacant or they may be occupied but need help. Like, hey, it's the summer and there's a bunch of weeds growing in the yard, right? Like the weeds or the grass is super tall. Or it's summertime and they have Christmas stuff up still. Or it's summertime and they have Halloween decorations up. Or it's the winter time and there's no snow, there's no footprints in the snow. Or the driveway's never been plowed recently. That's a good sign that place is vacant. Or you drive by in the evening. You go driving in the evening and you'll know if there's no lights on and it's in the evening, maybe it's vacant. Doesn't mean it's definitely vacant, but it could be vacant. And then I write those addresses down. Or if you're using a software like this, like PropStream on your phone, and I'm going to do a video outlining this exact technique and how I do it while I'm driving so you can see it. But on your phone, you can actually see the houses on the PropStream app and click the houses and it'll come up with the owner information. Then you can save that house to a list. Then you know, all right, I got that saved. Then you can go back to them later and market to them. So once you identify the vacant home and then you identify the owner information, then you do this, or this is what I do. You can do anything you want. Like you can call the owner. You can put them into Google, see if you can find a phone number for them. I don't do that, but some people do. You can knock on their door. I mean, it's a vacant home. Nobody's there, right? But I know investors. I know people that will find a vacant home, find the owner information, and go knock on the owner's door and ask them, do you want to sell the home? I don't do that, but some people do. The point is you have to reach out to them. So this is what I do. Hopefully you can see this. Let me see if you can. This is what I do. I write them a letter. And all it says is, Jim Smith, I noticed your property at 124 East Main Street. I'm interested in buying it. Please call me at, I give them a phone number. And I also put down, I live in the area. Oh, here's the other one. So I write something like this. Maybe this is a little different, but it has my name on it. It says I live in the area. And then it says, I have to disclose that I'm a realtor, by the way. So if you're not a realtor, that's a huge advantage for you to write a letter like this to an owner. Now, there are companies that will send these letters out for you. Like they'll send, like you can upload a list of like 5,000 names and addresses, and they'll send out 5,000 letters. It's not cheap. It's like $1, near $1 a letter. But when I started doing this, I did it all by hand. And there's a video on my playlist. I think it's How to Buy a Home. And it's one of my first videos, so it's really bad. But it shows you how I do this step by step, how I drive for dollars, and then how I write yellow letters. That's what I call this. This is a yellow letter because it's yellow, right? So I used to actually have a process where I would write the body of the letter, then I would make a bunch of copies, but use yellow letter paper to make the copies. And then I would go in and fill in the addresses and the name one by one. And my wife and I would sit there for hours, and we would send like 1,000 a week. And that's how I got started finding homes off market. And it worked. And it does work. In fact, the more authentic the letter is, the better. So if it's like torn up here, see that, how it's torn? It looks like, and it is, like I just wrote it and ripped it out of a notepad. It doesn't look like the standard letter that you would find, you know, like one of those cards or the letter that's pre-sorted mail. Not as effective. This is effective. This is effective. So the more authentic you can make it, the better. And if you're not looking for, you're not looking for investment properties, if you're just looking for a home to move into, you only need one. You only need one house, right? I mean, how many houses are you going to buy? So you may find them in the first 50 letters you send out. You may take you 2,000, may take you 10,000. Depends on where you live, the market you're in, and the type of house you're looking for. But that's how I contact them. It's very soft. And some of the calls you get back are, because people do call back. People are like, does that really work? It absolutely works. You'll get calls, leave me alone. Don't send me any more letters. No problem. You just take them off your list. And don't send them another letter. But you will get people that say, let's talk. You will get people that say that. And people, I mean, the amount of opportunities I've found by using this method, which I didn't invent, by the way. I stole this from somebody else. I didn't steal it. I just found it online. And I've had some other people tell me, give me tips and tricks on how they do it. So I'm kind of giving you the secret recipe on how I do it. And I can't explain how many opportunities I've found through this work. Not only houses to buy, flip, investment properties, apartment buildings, but also as an agent, as a realtor, I've found tons of business through this and met a lot of great people and helped a lot of people. I've helped a lot of people through this, through using this, and it works. It just does. It is an investment in time. It is an investment in money, but it's something you can do today. You can figure out, you can drive the streets, write down the addresses, look up the owners, get your hit list, and then write your letters. That's exactly, you just asked, how should I buy a house that's vacant in my neighborhood? Honor, you asked this for a long time and not kept up. This is how you do it. Nobody does this work. Nobody. Well, I do. A few people do, but not many people do it. Most investors are so lazy, they just send out cards, postcards. That is like the weakest thing you can do. Nobody's going to call you from a card. I mean, they may, but your response rate is so low. So, you get those cards in the mail. I'm sure you've seen those, right? Those postcards. I want to buy your house. I pay cash. Come on, man. Come on. That's weak. That's weak. Do something different. Let's do something different. And again, because if you're not a realtor and you're looking for a house like this, you don't have to put down you're a realtor. I mean, you know as well as I do that realtors don't have the best reputation in the world. So a lot of people probably get my letter and they're like, licensed real estate agent, crumble, throw away. I don't want to deal with an agent. And so if you don't have to put that down, because I do as an agent, I have to disclose that, you have an advantage over me. And somebody else mentioned BlackRock. Sid, I think, mentioned BlackRock earlier in the discussion. So these houses like this, BlackRock doesn't want. BlackRock will not buy this house. BlackRock wants the thing that you are probably looking for if you're hoping, wishing, and wanting a housing market crash. You're wanting that perfect move-in ready house that just requires maybe a gallon of paint to get it up and running. That's what BlackRock wants. That's why they're doing build to rent. They don't have time to fool with this house, this complete renovated house. A lot of investors do, maybe medium-sized, small people like me, they love these things. BlackRock doesn't. So that's where you have an advantage over the institutional investor. You've got two choices in real estate I think in today's day and age. If you want to find a house for your family, for you to live and move into, if you want to find a couple investment properties, you have two options really. You can let the fraud, the greed, and the corruption freeze you and give you every excuse not to do work and just point to it and complain. You can do that. And some people will forever do that. Or you can not let them beat you, not let the fraud, the greed, and the corruption and BlackRock, Black Knight, Blackstone, whoever you want to put in that category, the Airbnb investors, the boomers, the Federal Reserve, right? Now you hear that, the Federal Reserve's fault. Maybe it is, I don't know. But I do know that I'm not going to let them beat me. So what do? Guerrilla warfare, folks. Guerrilla warfare. I do something that they don't do. I do something that others won't do. And it works. Now, am I a billionaire from it? No. Am I a millionaire? No. Am I a multimillionaire? Absolutely not, obviously. But I can tell you that I find enough business as a realtor where I don't need to like go to masterminds and network meetings and like, put my ad in the grocery store newspaper or grocery store ad or put my name up at the high school stadium. No, I just send letters because, as a realtor, you don't need that much business to make a good living. And then I find my investment properties the same way, or I help another investor find them. So I would just encourage you, take the time, look at those two videos on my channel and about yellow letters and driving for dollars. And I'm going to do new ones because I'm a lot better on YouTube now than I was when I did those videos. They're really bad, really cheesy, but look at those because I think they can help you do something different. And you don't have to do it with an investment property. You can do them with a house you want to live in that you want to buy. As an owner, I think a lot of people would rather sell to an owner occupant. I mean, it's a pretty good story, right? Like, hi, Mr. Homeowner, you have this vacant home that needs a new roof, new windows. It has some foundation problems. It needs a new electrical system. It needs $100,000 in work. I'd love to buy that from you. And I'm going to live in it with my family, or I'm going to live in it myself. I'm not an investor. I'm not going to flip it. I want to live in that neighborhood for the rest of my life. That's a story that is compelling to a lot of owners. Now, you may ask, how do you afford that if you don't have cash? Well, there are programs with the FHA where you can get an FHA loan and an FHA rehab loan, a 203K loan, to do the repairs as an owner occupant and move into the building or the house once it's ready to be moved into. It's not an easy process, but it is. I mean, it definitely takes work, but there are loans out there for these exact situations, so you don't have to have cash to buy it. So I put a poll on my channel today. Would you buy a home for 60% off retail? 70% off retail, 80% off retail. If it needed a complete rehab, would you do that? Again, we're in a new market, folks. Like this real estate market now is, it's dog eat dog. It just is. It is what it is. You looking, hoping and wishing and wanting for a crash so that you can go on the MLS and buy the deal of your dreams for pennies on the dollar. It's a great wish. The problem is you're probably going to be competing with other people who are in the chat right now, because there's person after person that are waiting for that. Now, a lot of those people, unfortunately, aren't really going to buy. They just want carnage. But some of them really want to have an affordable home. In my opinion, don't wait for the fraud, greed, and corruption to work itself out, because that ain't never going to happen. Beat them at their own game. Just go around them, right? If you think house prices are going to drop 60%, go make those offers today. Don't wait. Don't wait. You don't have to pay retail for a house. You just have to do it differently, and you got to have a lot of patience, and you have to be very persistent. And that's out there. I just showed you a home. This home, I think, would sell for, again, I think it would sell for 150, 160. Completely renovated. 900 square feet. It's got a little basement. But if I needed a small home and I wanted to live in this area, I could buy this home for a great price and put a bunch of money into it, be patient, and have something at the end of the day that I've created from a house that may have been torn down at one point. And to me, that's like the ultimate win. Taking something, you make it awesome, give somebody a great place to live, or a place for yourself to live. Anyway. Oh man, look at this comment. This is great. I don't know who you're talking about, Tech Ninja, but you're right. That's what, I mean, it's sad. I work with buyers all the time, first time buyers, second, third, fourth, people who are scraping by, people who have millions of dollars. And in a weird way, the people who have more money are almost more realistic sometimes, because they realize like some stuff isn't important. So, the kitchen cabinets are the last thing they look at. The granite countertops, they don't care about. They like the location. They want to know about the bones of the house. They want to know about the opportunities with the house. The younger buyers, the first-time buyers, seem to be obsessed with nice cabinets or new or vinyl flooring, right? And they have to have like they don't want something that looks outdated. You should be if you really want a home and a deal, you need to look at the worst houses. And anything can be, some houses need torn down. There's no doubt, right? But when I walk into a home and it stinks and it smells, I know that's an opportunity. The worse the smell, the better opportunity. Location of house is always most important. Exactly. That is, you can't move that. You can change anything in a house, can't change the location. Without investors, you have no new supply. You can't afford a home because your expectations for what is normal life has changed. You must have got that from the Uneducated Economist. Sounds like something he would say. Got to check his channel out, Uneducated Economist. Dude, he has some great information. I like that. You're right. Like the person that I helped, that I guess you want to call it, brokered the transaction with, however you want to say that, as an agent, right? Found a buyer, an off-market buyer, by the way, and helped him buy this house. He's an investor. He's going to dump 70, 80, 90 grand into it, whatever he decides to do with it. And I know his plan already. Like he's going to do everything. He's going to do the roof. The roof may already be done. I don't know, but he's going to do the roof. He's going to do everything. And without that investor, this house nothing happens to it. Nothing happens. So we just got to remember these 15 million vacant homes or units aren't all they're cracked up to be. Again, you have to ask yourself, if you really want foreclosures to hit the market, are you ready to buy a foreclosure? Some people aren't. So many people don't understand why they're in a situation they're in, so they blame investors. Without investors, home wouldn't be built. Right, yeah, somebody has to invest. You're right. Even developers, right? They have to do that and build a new home. BlackRock has $2 billion waiting for the crash currently. Exactly. They do. They got money. They got bags of money. You know, it's just overflowing. They got my head, I picture them with these duffel bags with cash, like, you know, like an NIL contract. You know, they just buckets of cash just falling out on the table. And they're ready to buy, and they're ready to beat you again when you think everybody else is broke. Tons of cash out there. So if you wait for that crash, by the way, you're never going to time the bottom of the market. So when you think, well, there's going to be so much distress out there that comes to market from Airbnb and these vacant homes and student loans and whatever else people conjure up, there's these reasons. I'm not saying there isn't going to be some type of housing correction or even crash. I'm not saying that. There very well could be. I'm saying that there are a lot of people out there, including you and people on this channel, who say they're waiting for the bottom or they're waiting for home prices to correct, and they don't care about mortgage rates. They care about the price. Okay. When those prices drop enough, other people will compete with you. I mean, the cat's out of the bag with real estate. People like it. The time to have done that would have been 2012, 13, 14, right? When the average everyday house in the suburbia was discounted by 60%. If the house needs nothing or very little work, BlackRock will buy it and buy it with cash. I think you will. That's my prediction. Popcorn ceilings are asbestos in older homes. Yeah, there's asbestos, there's lead paint, there's knob and tube wiring. You have to get rid of all that, right? You have to have all that fixed, but it's possible to fix it all. Just takes money. But if you've got a bunch of money on the sidelines and you're waiting to buy that perfect house in that perfect neighborhood on the perfect street, don't wait. Go find that house now at the price that makes sense for you now. It's possible. Don't be one of the sheep that just wait, right? Go find it. If you think home prices are going to drop 50%, make offers at 50% off. You'll find somebody eventually who raises their hand and says, I'm willing to talk. You don't want to live in a home, cook cheap food, and eat out 4 times a year, Sizzler or Village in like I did. Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Let's see what else people have to say. I've had 4 people. What's up, Steven? I've had 4 people from my little riverfront neighborhood inquire about buying our little near fixer on the river. Ranch, nice 2-car detached, large yard, great neighborhood. I've had 4 people from my little riverfront neighborhood inquire. Oh, see? Yeah, people in your neighborhood are doing it. Yeah, good. My place will never see a listing. It gets sold off the books. Right. A lot of houses do. A lot do. I'm hearing vacation rental market is crashing because no one is booking. I sure hope so. They own a lot of nice waterfront and view homes. They may, yeah, I would think. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Vacation rentals are like that. Yeah, if you're looking for a vacation home, then that may be an opportunity. You know, that could be, honestly, it could be another one. You could look online at Airbnbs that aren't booked, I guess. Send them letters. You could do that. The point is, you want to beat BlackRock. You want to beat the fraud, the greed, corruption. You want to beat the realtor. Don't let that realtor get the listing. Beat them to it. Contact that owner before it hits the market. Contact that owner before some lazy realtor gets their hands on it, right? And they're like, hey, you know, you want to list your house for way over what you should list it for? Sure. And they put it on the market and they collect a commission. I can't tell you how many vacant homes I've driven past, wrote the address down, sent them a letter, and then like only, you know, it feels like a month later or 2 or 3 weeks later, it hits the market. And I'm like, dang it. Somebody beat me to it. Oh, hey, what's up? Hang on. What's up, Coors Light? If Kamala had become president, then I believe there would have been a better chance of a housing crash. Hard to tell. Hard to tell. I'll tell you one thing. Our administration's having a heck of a time with that 10-year treasury, aren't they? You can almost feel the conflict internally with them with the housing market, even though they don't talk about affordable housing or housing at all really yet. Except to build on federal land, which is, I'll just say, a unique idea. That's about it. They have that push-pull, right? You can tell the Treasury Secretary and the administration want lower interest rates, right? They want the 10-year to come down. But at the same time, they're kind of pulling strings behind the scenes to make the stock market go insane. And the 10-year was up a lot today. So it'll be interesting how they handle that. I think they're going to do whatever they have to do to get that 10-year down. They want lower rates because they want lower debt rate because that's how they buy assets. That's my opinion. Is it true that a company named BlackRock bought up 70% of real estate? No, that's not true. I think BlackRock, I think the largest investors together, institutional investors, own like 3 to 4% of single family homes, something to that nature. It could be high, but it's not 70%. Any other comments here? The rich are gonna nab all that up and knock down half of it. I tend to agree with you. I think, you mean if the market crashes? Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of buying from large investors. And small investors too. You know, I think they will. I think a lot of small investors will buy property too. I mean, I know investor after investor who are bigger than me, have many more resources than I do, and they are ready to buy. Like they've got cash. Like I have people calling me every week asking me if I have houses like this that work for like middle-sized investors, people that buy like 5 houses a month. And they tell me, we have cash, we'll close in a week. We're looking for anything like I just showed you. Like we're looking for that stuff. And we're looking for, you know, affordable move-in ready homes too. You don't want to let those guys win. Well, you can hope they go away. You can hope that like somehow the Federal Reserve goes away or is fired or property tax is abolished, for goodness sakes. You can hope all that happens. But why not just take your success in your own hands and just do it yourself and just navigate around them, right? Why wait for that to happen? And why let them win? If you think it's really that, there's that much greed and fraud and corruption, that should be all the more reason not to like give it the time of day. You ain't going to change it and it ain't going to go away. So just learn to win anyway. Don't get me wrong. I get hit with fraud and greed and corruption all the time. Like when I'm, you know, you go try to buy a property and there's some kind of, you know, city ordinance, you can't do something, or, you know, there are back property taxes on the property that you discover, and it makes it so you can't buy the property. It doesn't make any sense. And it gets foreclosed on, unfortunately. And you think, man, if property taxes were lower, we wouldn't have this problem. True. But you just got to keep moving. Anyway, that's how I look at it. me see if there's any other comments, and then I'm moving on. What's up, Edwin? The value of the dollar is collapsing. Inflation-adjusted homes are mathematically decreasing. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I think if you adjust for inflation, home prices or home values haven't increased. But I guess I believe that over a long run period, real estate is a good investment. That's what I believe. And that's not investment advice. I don't work for Edward Jones. I'm not an investment advisor, but I believe that, and that's my personal path. And so, and I think that affordable, good homes for people, whether that be a resale home or a rental property, is something that we're always going to need. And if you keep the community first in your brain and you try to do good in that way, and at the same time, you do only great deals for yourself where you make money too, because you have to make money to survive, obviously, then I feel like the values will take care of themselves. I may be delusional, but that's how I look at it. And let's be honest, like the time that we're on this earth is so tiny, right? You think about the whole span of like real estate. I don't know. I may be completely bankrupt in 3 years. Who knows? Trust me, I thought I was going to be over the last 7 years since I've been doing this. A lot of scary moments. Florida, big scam about buy your home now. You sign paperwork, they file lien at county, never deliver cash. Now you have clouded title. Well, it's not a tax lien, right? It's just a bill. But I get your point. Yeah, I mean, one could say you never really fully own your property outright because of taxes. Remember, Section 8 vouchers only good for 2 years. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. There's nominal then. Inflation adjusted real estate. Yeah. I mean, I can look at that chart and get all bajiggity about it, right? But I choose, I'm like, well, I know what's working for me in my little area. That's all I can really work on. And pay attention to. So like pay attention to the tenants, you pay attention to your current projects. I pay attention to finding more opportunities to list homes and help people sell and buy homes. And then, you just do the best you can. If I paid attention to like the collapsing dollar and like the fraud and like the Federal Reserve and everything else, like I'd never get anything done. I'd be just locked into fear. Why did I feel like I was going to go bankrupt? So, I mean, I quit. I rarely talk about this, but I used to work in corporate America, corporate style America, I guess, a typical job. And it got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore mentally. It just was way too difficult. So I had one of those Office Space moments where I just like walked out. Like I just walked out. And when I did that, my permanent or my steady paycheck is gone, right? So I had to figure out what I was going to do. I went out and did something that I'm glad I did it now, but it in the first several years was very scary. And I thought I was going to go bankrupt because I bought a bunch of properties all at once. I'm not going to say how many, but I bought a good amount all at one time in 1 year. Or like 24 months, maybe like 18 months. I bought a ton. They were all older properties, and I still have them all, but all older properties, like built in 1900 to 1910, 1920. All of them needed renovated. All of them. There wasn't anything I bought that was like, wow, this is like really nice. All of them, you walk in and go, oh man, this is horrible. They look like that house I was showing. Not quite that bad, but pretty much. So you're talking like tons of roofs, foundations, windows. And I thought I had enough capital. And I thought I could access enough capital through loans in order to take care of them all. Well, I quickly found out the real cost to rehab properties. I also got trapped into not trapped, but I got, it was 100% my fault. I got fooled into a BRRR, a BRRRR, whatever it is, buy, rent, no, I'm sorry, buy, rehab, rent, refi, right? You buy a property that needs work, you rehab it, you put a tenant in it, and you refi the property. And then you repeat, right? That's like this strategy investors have. I'm sure you've heard about it. That can work. It's possible, but it can work if the values make sense. Well, my estimates and my math early on with investment properties was off. I was way too overly optimistic, and I ended up not being able to do some BRRRR projects, and access to capital when interest rates skyrocketed became very tough for me. And then it stabilized as I got the properties under control. Now I'm in a much better situation, but I thought I don't know what was going to happen. I thought I was going to go bankrupt because I was like, man, I took on a lot of these homes. They were all multifamily, like small multifamily, duplex, triplex, quad. I thought I was going to go BK because I didn't have the money to repair them. And without repairing them, I couldn't get a tenant in there. And without a tenant in there, you can't make any cash flow. You can't pay the loans, right? So when, you get a call one day and they're like, hey, the rehab on this building is going to be 40 grand. Oh, okay. Then you get a call the next day. Hey, this building needs a new roof. Okay. Then you get a call the next day. Hey, this building has termite damage. It's going to be $37,000. All right. And that comes and comes and comes in waves. And you end up like scared. So that's how it happened. In fact, I'm going to show you guys that building. The building that I messed up the BRRRR on. I'm going to show you the evil side, or not the evil side, the pitfalls with doing that buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. I can't even get the acronym right. But it's and then you got insurance costs going up, property taxes going up. A lot of the buildings I purchased, they were dilapidated. Property taxes were nothing. Well, then when you fix them up and you refi it, guess what? Now, if the building you bought at $40,000 and put $100,000 in and now is worth $200,000, and you go get 80% loan to value to get all your cash back and go buy the next property or put more money into another property, the county then, the auditor values that at the 200, not the 40. Now your property taxes are a lot higher. And so I was new. A lot of that is just ignorance, but it was 100% my fault. I don't blame anybody else. And it got scary. Anyway, that's the long story, but that's what happened. You wanted to know. Good for you to being your own boss and leaving a stressful job and becoming a landlord. You need to be happy in life because you only get one life to live. Agreed. Yeah, it was like I almost had a mental breakdown. And it wasn't anything the company did wrong. It was just time for me to move on. How is real estate a good long-term hold while birth rates are crashing worldwide? I hear this. I don't know. Like, I don't have an answer for you, except that I firmly believe, based on what I've witnessed, not only growing up, but now, that good, affordable housing will always be in need in some shape or form, right? I think if you're looking at the luxury market, or, 3,500 square foot amazing houses, then yeah, maybe that market can dry up. But my opinion is affordable housing will always be in need. It just will, because people need a roof over their head, whether it be a rental or something to buy. So that's why I think it'll always be around. And I also think it's a great question. I think also because there's a lot of housing stock that's deteriorating. So we don't think about the house. I think it's like 70% of houses now are older than 1970 or 1980, something like that. So the point is, there's a lot of houses, like I showed you guys today, that are ready to be torn down. Well, something has to replace those. And if not, I think there's going to be a lot of stock that falls off the map too. But you're right. If people aren't born, then they're not going to eventually need a home. And I guess that could definitely be something down the road. But I look at that chart and I'm like, well, I'll be gone by the time that happens. If that does happen, I'll be out of here. there'll be another way to invest in real estate, I imagine. But it's a great question. It's a great question. If you're young and have a great work ethic plus no construction, then try partnering up with a money angel that will put you up the capital to purchase a tiny crappy house. Great idea. I know people that have done this. Yep. Yeah, you can operate outside the financial system, the traditional financial system with banks all day long, buying real estate. You do not need a bank to buy real estate. Coors Light just saying it right here. You can find somebody, they're not hard to find, who have money and will loan it to you at an interest rate that could be favorable, maybe not, but a lot easier to get than a bank. And as long as the numbers work and it makes sense for you and it makes sense for the loan, for the lender, the private lender, they call them, then it could work really well. You have to do all your due diligence. Obviously, you got to do your homework, got to make sure you know what you're doing, or that you have a plan and that you realize not everything's guaranteed, but it's still out there. The opportunity's there. Like I hear people say, well, I had a bankruptcy and so I can't get a loan for a house. So I missed out on investing. Like I know people that got foreclosed on during the GFC. And then they said that they're like, well, I can't buy a house now for a long time. You still can. You can still buy an investment property or still invest in real estate. You just got to find a lender who's willing to loan you the money. There are people, private individuals, who are willing to loan money and give people an opportunity where a bank would not. So if you believe in that and you believe in yourself and you go find those people, they are out there. And I've used them. I've used those people many times for loans. People always have a need a place to live, and there's always someone fed up with being a landlord. I couldn't say it better myself, Annie. I'm going to be that dude someday, right? I buy these properties from folks that are, they're older, and they've been landlords for years and years and years. And now they're like, I'm done with being a landlord, man. Like, I'm done with fooling. A lot of landlords doing work themselves, right? They get older, very hard to do. They don't want to climb a ladder anymore. But for years, they made a living going around and fixing up their own properties. And then one day they're like, this is not working for me. I want to get rid of this property. And a lot of them bought the property off market. They don't necessarily want to deal with a realtor. So they're like, I'll sell it off market too. They call this a tired landlord. So like here, I'll give you an example. Look at this. So in PropStream, if I go to PropStream, if I go to PropStream and I look and I filter this, I can look for tired landlords. Look at this. Tired landlords. Says there's 122,000 in Franklin County. So there's actually a filter for tired landlords, what Annie's talking about. They got some for upside down, pre-probate, high equity, divorce, auctions, bank-owned, failed listings, flippers, on market. You wouldn't market to properties on market, obviously. Tax delinquency, lots of those. Look at that. Speaking of tax delinquency, 29,000 single-family houses in Franklin County alone. You can complain about property taxes, or you can use it to your advantage. So if you look at the delinquent property taxes, so if I view these properties, here's one right here, 1524 Manchester Avenue. This is all public information, so I'm not sharing anything that you wouldn't see if you looked this up publicly. But if I look for tax delinquencies in this software, then I go and drive through the neighborhoods and I write down the houses that are distressed, and then I match those up. And so I'm like, all right, here's a tax lien or delinquent property tax, and I drove by the house and I can tell that house needs work. Then you marry those together and you're like, ding, 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 ding. There's a winner. Send them a letter. All kinds of techniques you can use to find a home. And again, if you're looking for a house just for yourself, you only have to find one. You only have to find that one deal. As an investor like me, a small investor, I only need one deal a year. I'm like, if I can find one opportunity that I buy as a new duplex, for instance, I'm good. If I can find one a year, life's good. So as a owner occupant, you only need one ever, maybe. So your odds are pretty high you're going to find something. Anyway, that's how one of the ways I find them. But Annie's right. People need a place to live, and there's always someone fed up of being a landlord. And you got to remember, a lot of landlords don't manage their business right. Like me, for instance, at the beginning, like I told you a little while ago when on that big story, but yeah, mess things up. Thought, man, I don't know if I did things right here. I bought a bunch of properties. They need a ton of work. I don't have the capital for that. Where am I going to find it? How am I going to make this work? All these houses are old. But other people, instead of, figuring out a way to make it work like I did, they just give up and sell their properties. Have you heard of loans for an investment property with a clause that you can't sell the property for X number of years? Friend brought an Airbnb with that type of loan, but I've never heard of it. I haven't heard that you can't sell the property, but I have seen them for an investment property where they call it a prepayment penalty. So in the first, usually they're either like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 years typically. Those loans are very common. And what that means is if you refi it or you sell the property in that period of time while it's in the prepayment penalty phase, you owe a percent penalty. So it could be like 1%, 2%. Sometimes it's a graduated scale. So for instance, if I have $100,000 property and I have that clause in my loan contract in the mortgage and note, and I sell the property in the first year and it has a 1% penalty, I have to pay $1,000 at closing to the lender because they didn't get a chance to get any of their interest. They also, a lot of times, will have a prepayment penalty where you can't make those extra mortgage payments at the beginning. I don't have any loans like that. All mine are just, you can pay anytime you want. You can pay early. No, can't pay anytime you want. You could pay early, can't pay late, but you can pay early. But I've never heard of one where you can't sell it. I've heard them where you get penalized. I'm not sure I would get that loan though. I wouldn't get one where you can't do it. Even at least allow me to sell it or refi it, even if there's a penalty. But to say I can't sell it, I'm not sure I would go for that. That's a pretty big. I mean, there are other loans out there better than that. And if you can't qualify for a loan except this, where you can't sell the property, you shouldn't be buying the property probably. Because that's a pretty big risk. That's just me though. Maybe other people do that and it's not a big deal. Great question though. I love it. I'm going to remember this today, Annie. Exactly. 100%. Always be looking for proper opportunities. ABC, always be closing. My school teacher friend just bought the 2 houses across the street to be a landlord to 2 elderly couples that need cash and want to rent and not fix anything. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Like there's nothing that says you can't find a house that somebody owns and they don't want to take care of it and you leave them in the house as your tenant. They like the house. They're probably like, hey, I like living here. I've lived in the neighborhood for years. I just don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to deal with the taxes. I don't want to deal with the yard maintenance. I don't want to deal with fixing their roof. No problem. I'll buy your house. You can be the tenant. I mean, there are people I know that bought, I've never done this, but I know that you can easily structure something where you buy the house as you could buy the house, and leave the person in and negotiate the rent with them. Like, hey, this house needs a roof. I'm just making this up, but this house needs a roof. It needs a foundation or it needs windows, whatever it needs. It's going to be $50,000. Well, I can't afford, to give you $50,000 for it. Or I'm sorry, I can't afford to give you the price you're asking plus the 50 grand in work. So we can do one of two things. I can either do seller financing where I give you're the bank, Mr. Owner, and I'll pay you a monthly fee or a monthly mortgage that's low for the first 5 years or 2 years while I get things moving in order to get it fixed up. Or maybe you give me more in rent than you normally would in order for me to be able to afford the loan to fix the roof over your head. There's all kinds of ways to structure it. You don't have to operate inside the normal system. You just don't. No better feeling than doing seller financing and never stepping foot in a bank. It's like the ultimate American freedom to me. And it works. Not all the time, but in the right situation, it works great. I always leave with seller financing. If it makes sense for the client, right? Or the seller. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't. A lot of landlords are yawning in Franklin. Right. Yeah. Tired landlords. I like that little symbol. Right? He's like, oh, little emoji. It's tax delinquency. You pay back taxes. Yes, you do. Right. Yeah. You got to pay back taxes. The rehab and maintenance costs can destroy these deals, though, guys. Right. You got to factor them in. You got to factor in the rehab cost. You can't, trust me, especially with an older home, you got to make sure you have that factored in. If you think it's just going to be all roses, it's not. There's going to be a lot of stress, probably, scary times. It also depends on how you do it. If you do a lot of the work yourself, can make things easier financially. You can learn a lot. Even if you do like the demo and stuff yourself, you could do that. But even sometimes that doesn't work out. My wife's yelling at me, telling me, no, don't do that. Don't do the demo yourself. Sometimes it makes sense. I mean, I know landlords that do all the work themselves, and I know some that never do work. True about some landlords not managing right. They don't even raise their rents in small increments on an annual basis. I agree. It's sad. I'll run into landlords that want to sell their property, and the building is probably worth what they want. The problem is they haven't raised rent in so long that their tenants are paying like $400 a month when their market rent's like $800. Well, I can't give you what you want for the building, Mr. Seller, because your rents are so low that I would have to come in and raise rents. I'd have to double rents. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to somebody. Raising it, $50, that makes sense. Raising it $400 on a $400 rent, that's not a nice thing to do. Maybe that's not the most capitalistic thing to do, but to me, it's like, well, there's a human aspect to it. And so I don't want to kick that person out for not paying rent if they can't afford $800. Point is, if they had raised rent steadily over the years, like Coors Light saying, would be a lot more appetizing on that deal, because then the rents may be $700 or $650. Okay, market rent's $800 or $1,000, and I'm at $700-800. I'm close. Maybe I can make the numbers work. But when the rent's $400 because you haven't raised it in 15 years because you wanted to keep them in the apartment, that's just not realistic. Very hard to sell. What's up, Matt? Boycott Texas housing till property tax and homeowners insurance removed permanently. Yikes. I mean, that's one way to go about it, man. I don't know. So I guess you're not going to buy anything in Texas until, is that what you're saying? Until property taxes and homeowners insurance is removed permanently. Whew. That's a big ask. But you never know. Well, here's a question. How do you learn about repairs or assessing costs? Make sure you're getting a fair price, or you are a beginner new to this. Boy, that's a really good question. So that's a long answer. Let me think of a way. Let me think of what I did and how I did it wrong. First off, I would say you should use a contractor to walk through the property that you're thinking about buying. So if you're going to see a property and you have access to it, you can actually walk through it. This isn't like a foreclosure. Like a foreclosure, you're not going to know what's going on. If you have no idea about renovations, maybe a foreclosure isn't for you. But you want the opportunity to walk through with a contractor and be as detailed as possible And I would also do a ton of research on, I mean, you can do a lot of it on YouTube. So there's a website, or I'm sorry, a person on One Rental at a Time, Michael Zuber. He has there's a ton of people on his channel that can, that have material around rehabs. One of them is the lumberjack landlord. And in fact, here he is. Michael Zuber has One Rental at a Time on YouTube, has a school where he has a bunch of investors, new, seasoned, people with one unit, people with hundreds of units, that get together online and talk about strategies. You may want to start there. There's a membership with it. I think it's $20 a month, but to me, that's pretty good. The other thing I would do is get with network locally with some real estate investors at real estate investor meetups. And usually they're very welcoming, especially to new folks. And talk to people in there. You'll find somebody who can take you through one of their current projects, or would be willing to walk your project with you and show you how to estimate the project, how to put the numbers together for the rehab. And so I would use those resources. I would start with One Rental at a Time, look at that school that he has, the membership. Then I would look locally at some networking events and do that research. And then build in the fact that you're going to make mistakes. You're just going to make mistakes. You're probably going to under calculate how much you need. That's just part of the deal when you start off with. And whatever you think you need, add more. If you think you need $1,000 to replace that countertop, budget in $2,500. I always overestimate all the rehabs because you always run into gremlins. You open up the roof, there's a gremlin. You open up the floor, there's a gremlin. You open up the electrical panel, gremlin. And the gremlins are the ones that cost you, 10 grand at a whack. So I hope that helps. That's what I would do if I was starting out right now. That's what I did, actually. I went to the networking groups, and then I got online and did a bunch of research with folks who have already done it and are willing to show me how to do it. I don't have that type of capability or those courses or anything set up. Maybe I will eventually, but that's not me. But great question, Addis. Did you ask about assumable loans a few days ago? I've got a video coming up about assumable loans, by the way. Addis, find a local mentor. I agree with Steven. I agree. They're out there. And those networking groups with investors, they're definitely out there. My school teacher landlord buddy is how I got into this. His cousin is the landlord building 6 to 8 plexes and tearing them down their old single family. Great. Yeah. If you network locally with people, you will find individuals that are small landlords, people that are just starting out, people who know what they're doing, people who have been doing it for years. And 99.9% of the time, it's free. Like, they're not going to charge you to give you their knowledge. What's up? Peace, love, and happiness. Good to see you. Got your dog on there. Yeah, I agree. That local knowledge is it's very valuable, very valuable. One of the things I was really surprised at when I got into real estate was how helpful people are. Like, just even agents, like other agents I work with on the other side of the transaction, whether it be a buyer or seller's agent, they're always usually very nice. And then, they're very helpful, at least my experience. And the local investors are very eager to show you how to do things. Versus the last company, or the last industry I was in was like cutthroat. Like, if there's a competitor involved, they would rather see you burn before they would help you. Anyway, great information. All right. Well, I've been on a really long time, I guess. But I got 80 people on, so somebody must like the information. Give me a thumbs up, though, before you leave the video if you can. Subscribe to The Housing Nerd. I'm going to do this again probably tomorrow, or you'll see a video from me tomorrow. Not sure what will be done first. And yeah, I hope this helped. I hope this helped about the vacant homes. vacant homes are out there, but it's not a slam dunk. And if they all hit the market at one time, you would think that there's going to be a lot of demolition and a lot of investors who want to do the rehab work buying them. But it's not something a lot of first-time home buyers are going to do. They're just not going to. They don't want to do that work. So have a great day. We'll see you again on the next video. I'm the Housing Nerd, and I'm out.